I would like to say that we are truly appreciative of the Department of Tourism, Travel and Tourism from the Faculty of Business Management to have arranged such a vibrant program which deals with something very appropriate. Sri Lanka has been under colonial rule for more than 500 years, and therefore we have to go on the decolonization and de-seasonalization and look at things from our own indigenous eyes. And that's what I would like to say, that this is such a country, beautiful in many ways, other than its geography and its climate. And today, in today's world, I think it's one of the safest and the best places, whatever time of the year. And therefore, I truly congratulate you and think it's very appropriate that you conduct this thematic panel discussion with live streaming for not only our learners, but also the relevant industries, particularly small and medium enterprises that deal with these aspects of travel and tourism to take our country forward. And I think this is a truly exciting panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. That's Professor Chandrika Vijayaratna, Vice Chancellor of Sri Lanka Technology Campus. So with that, as we are moving ahead with the highlight of the day, please allow me to introduce the distinguished panelists over here. So we have Professor Iraj Ratnayaka, Professor in Tourism at Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka. We have Daham Rajasekara, Director and General Manager of Connaissance de Ceylon, and Chatura Priyadashana, Senior Ranger Specialist at Hilton Yala Resort, Ramita Patirana, Lecturer and Head of the Department of Tourism Management at Sri Lanka Technology Campus, Ms. Radane, Manager, Business Development at Exemplary Voyages Private Limited, and Situmi Devindi, Senior Naturalist cum Sustainability Coordinator at Ambayalu Kandalama. So I warmly welcome all of you to this beautiful evening over here to have an interesting session on de-seasonalising Sri Lanka. So for all of you, and especially for those of you who are joining online, we are having this panel discussion in 2 rounds. And after the second round, it will be followed by a live Q&A where you are open for questions and you're okay to send in your queries to the chat on Zoom. And we will be happy to read your questions out to the panelists to get the responses. And of course, for those of you who are in the audience, please feel free to ask questions after the second round. So with that, we will now move on to the first round. And the first question I have for is Daham. So Daham, talking about tourism, we know that tourism is being impacted by many geographical and geopolitical tensions, not only in Sri Lanka, but also outside the country as well. So from your perspective, if I were to ask you, where do you see Sri Lanka's tourism is in terms of these demand patterns and also how travelers are behaving? Do you actually see quite a change with regard to these geopolitical tensions?
Thank you, Mayangana. Thank you for Thema Talks, actually, to Team Thema as well for inviting me, and also dear panelists, dear students. Very timely question, I would say, for me to answer. In my experience of 15 years in this industry, starting from the scratch, we learned so many different things. We started off with, soon as the war ended, I've been working with the industry. Ever since, now it's 2026, we've been experiencing so many different issues, patterns, whether it can be weather or geopolitical tensions, economic crisis, pandemics, all that. But to answer your question, Umayangana, I think yes, we are actually experiencing something different, a change in our industry. We used to study and also promote Sri Lanka very in the beginning, sun, sea, and the sand. But now we have changed the perspective for many, many reasons. Now we are looking at holistic picture. Sri Lanka is not very, it's very resilient at the moment as well. And we are thinking to change the pattern with the generational transformation with all the tensions that you spoke about. Yes, we are changing. I think for betterment, we are changing. So it used to be very seasonal, as you said, but now with all the issues we have experienced, we are changing the way we approach the tourism segment. And also, it's not only international. I think the local crowd is also traveling a lot now. So I think that is also a factor to support our change.
Exactly. That's a fascinating perspective. It's not just Sri Lanka that is being affected, but also globally when we look at the tourism market. And moving on with Professor Iraj Radnayaka. Professor, I have a question for you in terms of travel motivations. Like Daha mentioned, of course, tourism is being impacted by all these geopolitical tensions. So, in line with that, do you see a change in traveler motivations? And also, with time, we have seen how travelers are engaging with Sri Lanka, particularly from where they go and also why they would choose a particular destination in Sri Lanka. So, in your perspective, how do you visualize this change?
Yeah, thank you, Umyangana. Thank you very much for the organizers for having me in the event, which is jointly organized by Thema Collection and SLTC Campus. So, so if you look back the period of 60 years, when we started developing tourism in a planned manner, so over the period, we have seen a lot of changes in terms of the motivations of the tourist when they come to select Sri Lanka as a destination. So when we started developing tourism way back in late 1960s, so we started on an approach where we think that the tourism development should be based on carefully selected tourist sites, where we technically call the approach of micro type of development. So this focus was there because at that time, Sri Lanka as a destination, relatively unfamiliar. So therefore, we have to concentrate our development and also need to concentrate the management of tourist flows within the country. So initially, this approach was led by the governments of Sri Lanka, lately reinforced by the involvement of the private sector. As we know now, as a result of that, Sri Lanka has been developed an image what we still see as a touring Sri Lanka as a touring destination. So nothing wrong in that, but as we move on, we have seen that there was some changes with respect to the development approaches, as well as when it comes to the motivation of the travelers. So earlier, the motivation of the travelers mostly framed by the development, where we call it the model was like destination-driven model, where now we see the signs of moving from destination-driven development model to an experiential-driven tourist model. A model where the motivations of tourists also change accordingly. So we know that the tourism industry is demand-driven, whether we like or not. The supply sector is always interested in following the demand, motivated by ROI based on their investments. So nothing wrong in that, because we cannot expect the government to do all economic activities. So therefore, we see moving from destination-driven model to an experiential-driven model, we see structural changes of the motivation from mass tourism markets more towards special interest tourism. So we can talk a lot about that, because we see the demand for certain aspects in the industry now been changing. For example, in mass tourism, which favors handling of large groups, basically, required certain type of human resources, infrastructure, and superstructure. When we are moving from mass tourism markets to special interest tourism markets, so such requirements are changing. For example, the interpreters, tour guides. Earlier we need more tour guides. Now we are looking for chauffeur guides, right? So the industry now working hard because the education sector who provides trained manpower at the moment in the country is not sufficiently providing some of the skilled labor we need. So therefore, we have to carefully assess our needs also. It is not only good that we observe, understand, analyze tourist motivation, but also we need to respond quickly because the opportunities will not remain for a long period, right? So our counterparts in the region, for example, the Nepal is now emerging as a competitive destination. So we didn't believe actually, if you check the numbers of tourist arrivals, I am not in favor of numbers, but just to compare the destinations in the region, right? So I would say we have to be very proactive when we are responding to tourist motivations. I don't know whether I took too much time, right? So you can stop me, you can interrupt me. Okay, right.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, that's an insightful interpretation, I would say, being proactively planning ahead of, experiencing the change gradually, because all these models take loads of time to change and it is not spontaneous. So with clear observations and proactive planning, we'll definitely be able to see the trends in future. Thank you. And now I would move on to Situmi. So again, as an extension of what Professor Ratnayake shared, talking about travel motivations now, in your sector, since you're working as a naturalist, you might be very familiar with nature-conscious travelers. So what, do you see actually a change in nature-conscious and slow travelers with regard to the conventional peak season tourists that we see in Sri Lanka?
First of all, this is the first time that I am sitting here with Thema Talks, and thanks to Thema for having me and all these students who are here with us. And then for the answer for your question, I will say yes. And really, there is a difference in between these regular travelers and the slow travelers. So I'll put it in this way. Usually, regular travelers, they will come with a plan. They will have a plan, like if they are coming to Sigiri or Dambulla area, they will go to, obviously, they will go to the Lions Rock, then to Pidurangala, and the famous places out there. And then if they are going to Kandy, to the Tooth Relic, and then to Alla, and the places very famous, they will visit those places. And then they are packed inside a schedule. But when it comes to slow travelers, they usually, they don't come in even with when external disruptions are there, they still come to Sri Lanka, unlike the others. And still, now imagine, before that, I would like to ask a question from the audience. Now, if I talk about Sigiri and Dambulla areas, what comes to your mind at first? An archaeological site, just think about an archaeological site, any archaeological site around that area. Just think. Okay. And now, I hope everyone has one or two archaeological sites in your mind. So tell me, hands up, who thought about the Lions Rock or Pidurangala? Yes, there are so many hands. And hands up, anyone who thought about Manikdana or Kaludiya Pokuna? Yes. There are two. You can clearly see the difference. Like these places, I'm pretty sure some people even, I don't think that even they have heard about these places. Manikdena, it's very new, right? So when it comes to Sigiriya, when it comes to Dambul areas, the first thing what will come to our mind is the Lion's Rock or Pidurangala. That's what we go there and we look for as well. And usually regular travelers, they do the same thing because they don't know. That's fair, right? Even they don't know, and we as Sri Lankans, we don't know. So what about them? They also don't know. Obvious. And the thing is, these places, Manikdana, Kaludhiya Pokona, we, as our excursions, we especially promote these places to people because they don't even charge tickets. So it's not that much cost, but still people go there and experience these places, but still there is no one. So when I go to Sigiri, Pidurangala, the first, like last year, Vidurangala, we only had one way for the rock, and now there are 3 pathways because there is so much crowd going up and there is a queue up there. So you see what has happened to these sites. But when I go to Kaludhiya Pogona, it's only me and the guest. And usually sometimes I will see one crowd, 2 more, maybe a couple. That's all. And they are also like, it's in the same period, like 4th, 5th centuries, very beautiful site, nice caves. We have these inscriptions, like same importance, but people don't know. So same thing, now when we talk with these regular travelers, they are very packed, but still, when we tell these slow travelers about these places, there are nice, calm places where we don't feel like so much crowded and all. You can still go and experience, see the wildlife out there, see the wildlife as it is. Not only the Pidurangala, we have the same sunset and sunrise in many other places in the same area with more archaeological importance, but really people don't know. So that's the thing what differs, and these slow travelers, they are very flexible and they'll adapt to that, and they will be so curious about these places and they are willing to go there. So that's one difference. That's one big difference where what I see in these 2 travelers.
Yes, thank you, Sitami. So that actually is eye-opening, I would say. It's the key to promote sustainable tourism would be opening up these untapped or untouched destinations. Interesting perspective. So now I have the question for Ramita, and actually that's a quite timely relevant question. So Ramita, thanks to big data that we are dealing with right now, especially for tourism, it has been very easy to take proactive work on tourism planning. And we have seen with experience with destinations like Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam, they are actually adhering to all these processes. They are very consistent and very strong in terms of destination marketing systems. So from your view, what kind of an impact do these systems actually have on terms of forecasting future arrivals and their travel plans?
Right. Thank you, Mangana. And I also should thank Thema for this collaboration with SLTC today. And also, I'm here with one of my professors from Sabaragamu, Professor Iraj. He's the person who taught me about tourism planning. So I'm also today having some discussions with him. So it's an honor for me, sir. And also, to comment on what you asked from me, in terms of technology and also in Sri Lanka, we know that we do some airport service and we collect data, but I hope still we don't have that up to big data level. And but I'm not. I think in approaching to your question, I don't have a criticism for that. Why? Because Sri Lanka now have taken a lot of steps into these technological aspects. And the companies, the private sector organizations, hoteliers, the DMCs, all of them are together doing some digital marketing and SEO type of things, Google advertising, and there are a lot of companies who are investing a huge money on that aspects. And also, we have technology integrations in some of the attractions and the activities we do as well in the private sector. And what we have to think is how we need to go beyond that with these technological applications. And as you asked that with the comparison from the regional competitors like Malaysia, Singapore, and Vietnam, when we take Singapore, they have a system called STAN, Singapore Tourism Analysis Network. So they have collected this information up to a big data level, where all the other private sector participants and all the stakeholders who are having the kind of ability to do that impact is having the access to that network. So everyone is having timely updated data, and they all are aware of that, right? Where we are getting overcrowded and what are the interests of the people. And as Professor Iraj said, now we have a turn and we have a tendency to turn our Sri Lankan brand image as a tourism destination into experiential market. And so as a result of that, in terms of technology, as the users and as the social media users, we also see the travel vlogs of the foreign visitors, inbound visitors to Sri Lanka. They are doing individual marketing for this type of experiential traveling. And also that is being marketed in the external countries, and accordingly we are creating the waves. But the problem is not, I don't want to say it a problem. How can we go beyond that is, there should be a system with the connection of all these stakeholders where we can, I mean, it is not like data collection, and it is more informative and collaborative system. If we, what I hope, my suggestion is that the government can think in that way, and also it is not something that we can do an overnight, right? It should be a strategic approach, and it should be adapted and applied in strategic tourism planning as well. And so through a strategic approach with the government control, maybe government is acting as a hub into that, we can collab all these, or we can get the involvement of all these stakeholders who can make that change and the transformation with the technology. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Ramita. Actually, the challenge would be actually not to collect the data, but how we are going to use this data in order to take proactive decisions in terms of promoting tourism. Thank you for that. And now the question goes to Ms. Ra. So, as someone who is working with international travel agencies, you must be facing different challenges. So, what are the main challenges that tour operators face when you're trying to position Sri Lanka as a year-round destination?
Thank you, Mangana, for the timely question. And thank you also for Thema Talks and SLTC for organizing this very timely discussion. And I'm really honored to be sitting with such a distinguished panel of professionals. So to answer your question, talking about challenges that I face day to day in my field of work as a travel agent working with overseas partners and also handling ground operations, I would say the biggest challenge is not the destination itself, but the perception that is there in the international market. Internationally, Sri Lanka is still seen as a destination with one best season, where as locals we know that that it is not true, and somewhere in the island there is favorable weather condition throughout the year. So it is because of this perception that overseas travel agencies and tour operators are hesitant to promote or recommend Sri Lanka as a destination outside the traditional November to April window. Another challenge that I see is that we are competing with simplicity, against simplicity. We are not only competing with destinations like Bali, Thailand, or Vietnam, but we are also competing with destinations that are easier to understand and easier to sell. So, so certain destinations have a very straightforward peak period, whereas our destination, I would say it is one of the greatest strengths that we have is the diversity of climate. But to explain this diversity, the different climate patterns, traditional, out of the traditional experiences and seasonal itineraries and regional experiences, this takes quite an effort from the tour operator to explain this to the client and the visitors. So I think this complexity gives us a certain disadvantage when competing with other destinations. And also a much overlooked fact is that the tour operators always have a tendency to minimize risk. So if we can foresee what the unprecedented events and help the tour operators to promote the destination in such a way whereas they can minimize risk, avoid client complaints, and have satisfied clients. That is also another challenge that we face in day-to-day activity. And I also think we market availability instead of experiences. If somebody talks about summer in Sri Lanka, we are quick to say, okay, the East Coast has great weather during July and August. Whereas I think that is not enough, because the traveler today is not booking sunshine. They are looking for memorable experiences. So if we can talk about regional experiences, what we can do, the beaten path, what they could experience as a guest to Sri Lanka, instead of marketing availability of sunshine or availability of favorable climate, I think we can overcome another major challenge that we are facing in terms of weather and unpredictable climate. And to answer the second part of your question, so I do believe there is existing demand that we are not fully capturing. Because today's traveler is really flexible. They're looking for fewer crowds, off the beaten path experiences, and value for money. And they do have a greater flexibility in terms of their travel dates. We have repeat clients, we have honeymooners, we have retirees, and we have travelers with special interests who are not tied to a traditional holiday period. So in my perspective, the question, the problem is not with a lack of demand, but rather how we are to change this perception of Sri Lanka in the international market. If we can come together to change this perception, I think we have great potential in positioning Sri Lanka as a year-round destination, as a genuine year-round destination.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rao. Although you answered this question about problems and challenges, what I felt was that the opportunities that we have as a country are limitless. So thank you very much for that. So the last question for the first round goes to Chatura. So far, Chatura, we have witnessed how the speakers speak about the human side of tourism, where they talk about how travelers are behaving, how travelers have different motivations. So now we are going to look at another part where you are an expert in, which is wildlife. When it comes to tourism, that is also another part that we have to definitely consider. So looking at your expertise, do you see a change in animal behavior and ecosystem processes across different seasons when it comes to Sri Lanka?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on board here for organizers. And I think we should understand that like wildlife, like they don't have like a calendar like we do have, because they don't know the seasons like we have in tourism. They only respond for climatic conditions like rainfall, droughts, and water availability, food availability, and even their breeding cycles. So having experienced working in many part of the countries and contributing many research in the country, so what I have like noticed that like each and every seasons we have different stories to tell. So as an example, like during the dry season, so if you talk about the dry zone of the country, we do have lots of elephants there. So during the dry season, we have very limited water resources around the dry zone. So elephants especially, so they start moving like long distance to find water, and other animals, especially other herbivores, they trying to get into the remaining watering holes, and also like animals like leopards, like we consider them as the predators. So they also trying to deviate from their usual routines. They try to get into those existing watering holes because they also find for water and food. So even the birds. So they also come into the same watering. So if you go on safari in different national parks, especially to the dry zone areas, you might see lots of different species in one single place. So it means like the visitors will think, okay, this is the season that I should visit this area. But when it comes to the dry season, wet season, the forest, I would say the forest will get bigger. It means the animals will spread through the area because we have lots of water here and there. So they will divide it for different areas. So the visitors who are visiting that time of period, they might think, okay, we have no clear animals, like clear sightings here. So, and when it comes to the other places, like even the wetlands, we have the same scenario. We can apply the same theory. So, being tracking for many years in Yarnashore Park, so what we experience is like during the dry season, we can see more clear tracks of animals. So we can even track the animals until we see the animal. So we do that in Yarnashore Park. And apart from that, during the rainy seasons, you could see that much. You could not see that much footprints, but you can see other signs like feeding signs, new burrows, nesting sites. So this is something different that we can talk about. So I thought we cannot differentiate. This is the season for wildlife tourism. This is not the season for wildlife tourism, because each and every season we have a different story to tell to guests. So we should amalgamate the science and the tourism together, and we should where we can promote itself in different seasons. Then we can when we can give more areas that we can promote the areas to tourism, where we can people to explore. So I think, yeah, again, there's no clear season for wildlife tourism in Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much for that. So different perspectives, wildlife and the people who are directly working with tourists. So actually that concludes the first round, and I hope you all got a clear idea as to why de-seasonalizing Sri Lanka is a key to promote a more limitless and more opportunistic country like Sri Lanka. So to begin with the second round, I would like to forward this question to Ms. Rao. And since we know that Sri Lanka is very popular for the season of November and April, which is the south season, and as a result of that, we have seen that more pressure is being created in these areas rather than having a balanced pressure going on to other destinations. So from your view, what can we actually do to spread the demand outside of these pressurized places and move an equal demand for all the other parts of the country throughout the entire year without limiting to these two particular seasons that we are referring to?
Well, I think according to my experience, the challenge is not telling the traveler or telling the tourists to travel throughout the year, but it is rather creating the right conditions for our partners, for our overseas partners, because we work mainly with the B2B, business to business model, and we have partners who will source the tourists, who will find the clients who are interested in traveling to Sri Lanka and contact us for the ground handling support. So we need to make the correct conditions for the tour operators and the travel agencies to promote Sri Lanka or to recommend Sri Lanka with confidence, regardless of the season. I do not think that we should limit the tourists from November to April's traditional window, but that is unfortunately the case as of today. So I think in terms of changes that need to happen, the first change need to happen overseas. The tour operators or our partners overseas has to be given a clearer and simpler understanding of the seasonality of Sri Lanka. So in order to do that, we need to provide them with the practical tools where rather than telling Sri Lanka has one peak season and one off season, where they could match the correct regions, the right regions to the right time of the year. I think that is one major change that needs to be done in the international market in terms of promoting Sri Lanka as a year-round destination. And then this would mean from our end, we need to offer the correct the training that we need to give to the tour operators, regular training, and we will need to curate experiences of the beaten path, and we will need to come up with seasonal itineraries and provide these ground support to our tour operators or our partners to confidently promote Sri Lanka. And the second change needs to happen on the ground. We talk about promoting lesser known regions, the lesser known sites, but how do we make these sites or make these regions equally attractive to our tourists? So this would mean on ground level, we need to invest on infrastructure. We need to improve connectivity in certain regions, and we also need to ensure the overall visitor experience meets the international expectation of the traveler. And I also think the most important part, or the most important element rather, is the operational resilience that we need to show. In order for travel agents to recommend Sri Lanka throughout the year, it is to build up their confidence about recommending Sri Lanka throughout the years. It is not the absence of challenges that has to be there, but it is the trust on the local partner, rather, that they are able to come up with a backup suppliers or an alternative itinerary in case of an unforeseen event, because unforeseen occurrences can always happen. This was the case that we all had to face last November during Ditwa. But from what I saw, we were very resilient. All the tour operators, all the local ground handlers, from suppliers to guides, they were very proactive. We spoke about proactivity earlier. So they were very proactive in curating an itinerary that is alternative to the first one without compromising the client's experience. So if we are able to give that confidence to our partners, I think they will not hesitate to recommend Sri Lanka throughout the year for their clients. And also, finally, I would like to say that all the stakeholders in this industry need to come together and collaborate in order to make this happen. The DMCs, the hoteliers, the airlines, and the local suppliers, regional vendors, all of these stakeholders, they play a major part in putting out a perception about the country. So I think if we are to change this seasonality perception in the tour operators, we all need to come together and communicate the same message, which is very important, because I think it starts from home. Rather than expecting it to change overnight, we need to take smaller steps in order to make this happen. And if we are to make this destination appealing to the tourists all year round, I think we need to make the destination predictable, adaptable, and easier to sell for our partners. And if we can do that, I think we will not have any problem going forward, having to talk about seasonality and having to face certain periods of the year where there's a lack of demand. Thank you.
Exactly. So as you mentioned, it's a collaborative effort of many parties, not just you, particularly as a travel agent or a DMC, but a collaborative effort of everyone that makes the seasonality goes beyond it. So the next question goes to the Actually, a follow-up to Ms. Ra's question. Are we actually practically doing anything in practice, in reality, when it comes to spreading the demand across the year? From your experience, have you designed any particular itineraries, pricing, and any other different products in order to cater to this tourist to come to Sri Lanka all around the year?
Really good question again. And Misra covered a lot of ground actually for my answer as well. We have to be first, I think, as DMCs and also stakeholders of the industry, we have to be very creative. I think creativity is missing. I think even in the play, they were saying about creativity. I think we have to be very creative to sell our country. As rightfully said, Sri Lanka is everything. So you talk about from north to south, west to east, you have everything, and you can sell Sri Lanka all year round. So I think in my experience for the last 6 years, with very turbulent times, we have been very creative on how we tap each and every market. Yes, we have the normal, I would say, as Misra said, the regular seasonality, which is from November to April. But we come across these shoulder months where we have very dried up days, like even the national guides to hotels to everybody suffering. What one thing that we actually identified in the last 6 years is there are markets that which are actually traveling during the summer season, even in the shoulder season because of their holidays, school holidays and whatnot. So we've been very creative in that area where we tap into those markets and also visiting those markets, and with our help of our stakeholders internationally, we tap into these markets and say this is something there where you can discover Sri Lanka in a very different perspective. I think Thema is doing something really good at the moment with their properties. Now they are growing ever since with with regular properties in Ali and in Sigri and Pasikuda and all that, but they are thinking outside the box, which are like Galloya. You talk about Galloya, Knuckles and all that, where something is very important and very interesting to see. It's untapped. And also, I think that's year-round destination to talk about Galway. So we are being creative with these areas in thinking, no, it's not the classic route that we have to propose or sell. We have elsewhere so many different areas. Let it be culture, wellness, culinary, let it be nature, adventure. So we've been thinking about all these segments where we can tap into, and also very important aspect, I mean, not for DMC, but for as a hotel perspective, I see just like the international travel, I think local travel is also very much involved in this industry, because I see the spending patterns of a local is very high actually at the moment. It's surprising to see that, but it's very encouraging for the hoteliers. I think during the pandemic and also even during the Ditwa chaotic period, even the DMCs profited through locals being very creative. I think that is something that we have to tap into, and also all the future stakeholders are also here, and even Professor will agree on this as well. You all have to be very creative in the future to come, because if we are creative, I think Sri Lanka can be one of the top destination even in the Asia or South Asia. At the moment, I'm seeing Sri Lanka in the pecking order because of sometimes, maybe not the right word, but I say it's greedy sometimes, our industry. When we have a good season, the next season, we are being very greedy and we are trying to reach the moon, where we collapse. We have to be very systematic when we are approaching, because we are still developing, and we went through so much chaos. So as a company, lastly, I just to conclude that answer, as a company, we are believing in slow but pacey growth, and also we are being creative and also innovative for certain markets all year round. So that is actually a success story for us.
Exactly. So de-seasonalizing is not something new to Sri Lanka. As you said, we have been doing trials and errors. And as a company, from your perspective, you believe that creativity is the key to ensure that tourism is leading in the right roads. So thank you very much for that. And Chatura, moving on to you and also talking about the seasonal pressure that is being created in all these seasons, for example, the East Coast season and also the South Coast season. We have taken efforts in minimizing the impact that it has to wildlife. So from your experience on ground as a professional ranger, what kind of an impact does this seasonal pressure has on wildlife?
Well, good question, because we all know that like during the peak season, the Yal I'm working right now, it's full of people. It's very crowded. So per day, like we can see like over 500 entries for the park. So it's like exceeding the carrying capacity of the park. So I mean, I'm talking about the block 1 area actually, because we have like 6 blocks for the national park. So what we see, like there are like some key animals like elephants, even the sloth bears, even the leopard. So if somebody's seeing a leopard, there'll be like couple of at least like 20 jeeps around the one single leopard. So because like each and every operator, they want to give the best chance for their visitor to enjoy the scenery or take the photographs, because from the visitors end, they're also only thinking about the taking the best photographs or the taking the best memory, but nobody like talking about or thinking about the what we do for the animal. Like we are altering the behavior of normal behavior of the animal because of that. So when it comes to the elephants, we are doing the same thing. Like we know that like since like we are doing some trackings, like we identified a couple of like corridors where the elephants do cross the roads to get into the watering holes, and then moving towards the other places to find good quality food. So what the people do is that they're blocking those corridors, like especially during the peak season, because of the high number of jeeps. So because of that, the animals will they don't try to cross that area, or they will alter that area and find another way. So those information actually, I mean, the elephants are very very intelligent animal. So they are passing their information generation by generation. So doing these kind of things like will alter their indigenous knowledge. So that is also happening. And also when it comes to the urbanized areas, like all we know, like the Colombo, we have like urban wetlands. Like these days, actually, we can see like there's a trend like visitors. Like we can see like increasing the number of visitors for those wetlands. So they're trying to avoid the designated pathways, and they're trying to put litter as much as they can actually, and also they're interrupting the nesting sites of especially for birds. So these things happening, but like we know that most of the people not doing this like intentionally. That is because of their curiosity, because they want to get the best experience. But in the same time, they are damaging the natural behaviors of animals. So like rather than like promoting one single destination for all of the visitors, we can think of the alternatives. Like we all know that the Kumana is the best option or alternative for the Yala. So why don't we promote Kumana? And even Yala, we have block 5, where we have like a beautiful scenery with the same animals, but nobody care about that. But I don't know why, or maybe like the comments that we are getting from the previous visitors, or high demand. But we can think about those kind of alternations, or alter. Then we can like think about that, and we can promote those. So the thing is like the way of we are selling that. So we should take care of the animal behaviors as well, and we need the money, of course, but we have to think about the minimalize damage to the wildlife. So and also as a responsible hotel as in Nyala, so we have like a couple of initiative, because we saw that there's a like a lack of management like regard to those two operators, and also lack of awareness among the all the stakeholders. So what we did is like we started initiative with a couple of organizations from South Africa as an example. So we started doing a tracking program. So for last few years we did this. So what we're trying to do is like we are educating our rangers not rushing towards the leopards. We're gonna tell stories about the other animal behaviors, like we have dung beetles, we have nestings, we have feeding signs, lots of things that we are only talking about the leopards, but that's like 1% of the ecosystem. So what we have like 99% to talk about. So because of that trend, the most of the visitors in our resort, they are actually not leopard seekers. So they actually try our other products like bush walks, beach walks, rather than they are doing regular safari. So they are looking into other places like Block 5, Kumana, Block 2, Fayal National Park. So these kind of stuff going on. And last year we managed to like train like over like 8 people. This year we train like again like 16 people for a month from other resorts, and we managed to take down international trackers to Sri Lanka, which is a new trend. Like during the off season, we took them down Sri Lanka, and we trained them how to track animals in Sri Lanka, which is new experience. So we can think about those kind of new experiences or new excursions without putting so much pressure on one single destination. Then we can minimize our damage to our wildlife or our ecosystems. Also, in the meantime, we can earn high profit by like encouraging people to do different kind of experience, because we all have that potential in Sri Lanka. Yeah.
Thank you, Chatura. Impressive and truly appreciative of the efforts that you take as a leading hotel chain in Sri Lanka. And the key is, as responsible travelers, is to get the tourists to experience the most out of the experience while also making sure that the wildlife is not threatened. So thank you very much. And moving on to Ramita, I have a question like this. If we imagine a situation where the tourism pressure is being built in one particular destination, and the wildlife threshold, as Chatura has mentioned, are being met, and in other way around, the tour operators and researchers are all seeing different parts of the same picture. If we imagine all these three going on together, what kind of a system would Sri Lanka need in order to make sure that we are giving the tourist informed decisions?
Right, okay. So tagging to my previous answer and also what Chatur explained, so we know that in Yala we have a huge pressure where the park cannot tolerate. Why that has happened is, I believe in marketing also we have done something wrong, because the ones who need to go to Yala and the ones who are not needing to go into the Yala, we have promoted the Yala, so everyone is going to Yala. And also what we see in social media as a trendy video in Buttala Kataragama Road, a lot of elephants are now doing a huge blocking to the vehicles. Sometimes the people are not doing tourism, but for the day-to-day lifestyle also that has come as an impact now, bad impact. Even for personally, it scared me also to drive through that road. So why that has happened is the people who are not aware about the responsible behavior or what they need to be done at that type of places, they have done something wrong. They are feeding the elephants, and elephants are practicing that. So as he very correctly mentioned, generation by generation, that will be escalated. So and so what we have to do is, rather promoting Yala Block 1 again and again, we have to think about the tourism circuits. So in creating the tourism circuits, that we by using that, we can get rid of the creating the pressure into one place again and again. Because the circuit is about, we are having kind of a cluster attractions around in that area, and we are spreading the demand among that circuit. So that has to happen, and that is not someone can do alone. And also, rather promoting one place, we can promote the entire cluster, entire circuit. And we have to think about creating and connecting the dots right? Connecting the dots and creating that type of circuits everywhere in the country where we can do the possibilities, and maybe in the east coast and the south coast and in the central part of the island and the northern part of the island, everywhere we have a lot of things to offer, and it is a compact island. So, and tagging to my previous answer, if we do have an integrated system like that with the participation of all the stakeholders who can make that happen. So with that awareness, the theoretically addressing by maybe as we address to you all as the university students, then I mean we are creating this awareness for the future of the tourism industry and also the industry. And again, I hope the private sector also has something to do. Rather, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's. I'm not criticizing what they have done. They have done a massive thing to this industry, the hotel chains and everything. And we have to think about investing on creating the experiences as well for the tourists. Rather than we are using again and again the natural things we do have in the country, we have to think about the investing on creating some experiences as well. And connecting all these dots, we can have a better system in Sri Lanka. And also we can then have the technological support into that, maybe with digital marketing, and from the marketing aspect and also from the management aspect, we can use these systems, connecting all these things and addressing to the future of tourism. I hope we can have a better industry and better environment in Sri Lanka for everyone.
Thank you for that, Ramit. Actually, having the foundation might be the key for everything. At first, it might feel challenging, but in the long run, it might definitely give us all the pros and advantages that we actually look into. And the next question goes to Situmi. And as a female naturalist and also as a person who is working at a resort which is fully run by women, which is a proud fact, I would say. And from your experiences, you might definitely have a lot of stories to share. So can you relate me a situation where you were able to influence visitors towards a more eco-conscious behavior while also encouraging them to think beyond peak season travel without limiting to these seasons?
Yes, and I would like to add that about Ambeyalu, that's the first women-led property in South Asia, and one reason why Ambeyalu came is as an inspiration to all the women in the tourism industry, because when it comes to tourism industry, same thing happens with me. Even my parents, they hated it. They were like, no, you're not going to do anything in tourism. They really hated that, especially my father. And then I didn't leave that anyways. I badly needed to do a job in this field, so I just explained him, and then I took him for my wildlife field visits, and then later he understood. And luckily, because Ambeyalu is a women-led property, they sent me there, and I was able to be a naturalist, which was a dream for me. So it's a nice job. I really love my job. And I am pretty sure you all know how to be a doctor, how to be a teacher, and the pathway to go to that stage. And I'm pretty sure you all also had ambitions to be a doctor, to be a teacher, a lawyer. But when you all were little kids, have you all ever heard about a job role like naturalist? Since we are in the industry, we know, but I'm sure that no one knows. Because sometimes even when local people come to our property and they'll come and ask like with my uniform, and they'll ask, are you someone from the military, army or something? What's your job role, like that? And when I say naturalist, what does that mean? Naturalist, some call naturalist, naturalist, what are you really doing here, like that? Really, no one has an idea. It's a nice job. Like every day I am pretty sure even he is loving his job. So every day we are experiencing nice new things. It's the wildlife, the nature, new people, not in the same place. It's a really nice job. And why Ambeyalu came is one reason that each job role, even our driver is a female, like in tourism industry, every job role in Ambeyalu it's done by women, which proves that when it comes to tourism industry, these ladies, they can do any kind of a job role there. So that's one reason, and we get really nice feedbacks from guests and people. They heard about the concept and they come to support the concept itself. There are lots of people who just come and say, we just heard about the concept, especially solo travelers like females, and they'll come and say, because to support the concept, we came here. And it's very nice to see that. And if you all are also interested in doing some jobs related to nature, you all can do. Warmly welcome to the industry. And that's something we really lack in Sri Lanka, especially in schools and everything. Even when we are doing our A levels, even I have asked people that I need to do a job related to nature, whatever it is. I don't know. Even I didn't know there is a job role as a naturalist. So even I have asked, what are the pathways I can go? Even I had the same questions. Like, since we are in the industry, we know, but what about a little girl or a boy who lives in a poor village, or someone who loves to do a job related to the nature, and but still they goes in the same flow? They are doing commerce and they are doing something related to management. They're going on some kind of pathway. If they do IT, they will be, if they go to the medical side, they will go. But someone's, they even really don't like what they are doing. That's why people get more stressed, I think. But I am really loving what I'm doing. So every day it's so nice. We will never get stressed in that way. And anyways, when it comes to responsible tourism, and thing we are lacking females here is like, if I go for safari most of the days, and as he said, most of the times there will be around 300, 400, and up to 500 jeeps per day in a park. And then sometimes, most of the times, there will be more male guides, but I have experienced two female naturalists in the parks, but sometimes I'll rarely see them. So we don't usually see females in this industry. And the thing is, even when it comes to, like if we talk about like 60 male guides, there will be one female guide there, right? So in that way, but anyways, there are some like hate comments as well. Even like, I'll share one of my experience, a very recent experience. So when visitors come to my property, I really love to now imagine about Sigiriya. So when it comes to responsible tourism, it's my responsibility to talk about this place and to tell them whatever it's there for them to go and visit. So one day I just spoke to some guests and I told them, go to Sigiriya, and our usual pathway to Sigiriya is, we are going up, we are going to see the views, and then we are coming back, we are seeing the frescoes, and then that's the round. But Sigiriya is massive. We have, like, I don't think one day is enough to experience Sigiriya. That's that massive. And also, many people, the most important part of Sigiriya is the museum. They miss that. In the museum, you can see the frescoes. There is a mirror wall in the museum, and you can touch the mirror wall. You can write anything in only the one in the museum, not the one on the rock. Please don't touch that, and that will be a problem. So the one in the museum, you can touch that and see, write something, like you can experience everything, like the jewelries, the story of Sigiriya, everything is there in the museum. But these usual guides, they take these people just in the normal path. They just will tell some things. And there are some people, like, just they need to take another tour soon, so they will just finish one tour and take back the other tour. So they're in a very rush. But still, but I need, that's my part of job, right? So I told that those guests that don't miss the museum, go to the museum. And also when I talk about the parks, I will usually say, in this park, it's so rush. There are so many jeeps, and I recommend you this park. It's nice. You can still see the same wildlife. As he said, why do we need to pressure on one park? Now, for an example, if we go to Kaudulla these days, there are around 500 jeeps per day. But recently I went to Gallo Eco Park, and there were two jeeps, mine and there was another one. That's all. Still, when we go to Kaudulom in area, animals really, they get stressed. It's the same elephant in both parks, but still these animals, they really get stressed. Like, it's in national parks, it's one pathway, it's one way. And when these animals need to even cross the pathway, some jeep drivers, they really need, and it's about the regular travelers as well. So even they don't have a proper idea, and they just need to take a photograph near the elephant. That's all. They are like very curious about the animal, and they love that. But still, we all love tourism. We need tourism, but still, we don't want to lose our wildlife because of tourism. Even I am doing a job in tourism, but I don't want to lose this wildlife. I love the wildlife, so I don't want to lose that because of tourism. None of us. So anyways, that's why even as he said, that we really need to promote other places where not to get rushed in one pathway and to promote the other places. So what happened to me was I told them about these locations. You can try this one, go there. And the next day, they have had a guide. I didn't know that. So their guide had come and complained. Where is that naturalist who told about all these places and my guests are asking to go there now. And he was like, that's a problem for me. Now I should show the museum and I should go to this park. And usually they will put for the parks where they get the low cost and, they try to earn a profit in that way. And he had scolded me and he had complained. So that's the thing, but that's really happening here. I usually experience so much of things like that. And still, this is very sad to say, this thing happens in Sri Lanka. Or even now, even I hope that even we will get a proper idea that we don't want to rush in one particular place and we have to go to the same place. Like responsible tourism means we don't really want just to see. It's same as what Mr. Chatura said about the leopards. That's like 1% of the wildlife. There are more other things. So we can try other places, nice places where we can promote these places, and that's one thing even what Thema does. And we really encourage guests to go where it's not that rush. We don't want to be a part of that pressure to these animals as well. So yeah, so that's how this responsible tourism, actually, I think it should be in that way. We don't want to pressure these our wildlife because of tourism. And also, again, I'll tell, if anyone is willing to be a naturalist, just search and see. That's a nice job, huh? You should.
Thank you very much, Situvi. Actually, that's definitely, you might have different stories to share. And also, I don't know whether it's coincidence or not. When you were speaking, there was a beautiful insect that was flying from across the stage. Maybe your aura might be calling the animals in the nature. So definitely, it's definitely a wow factor. So the last question for the panel goes to Professor Iraj Ratnayaka. So, Professor, if you look at Sri Lanka's tourism system, we have to look at three different facets. The first facet would be the research, where you are included as an active researcher, researching on new concepts and models. And there's the other facet, the policy, where the policymakers, government, and other governmental organizations are getting together to make policies related to tourism. The other cohort is the industry practice, where the professionals like them are putting their efforts into actual practice being on the ground. So if we are to look at these three aspects, what we see is that we don't see these three aspects that are moving in sync. They are disjointed. So what would it actually take to bring these areas into better alignment so that de-seasonalization is actually a workable practice?
Thank you, Mayangana, for the question. Probably the answer is quite technical, but I would make it very simple. There are three areas that you touch in the question: the research, the policy, and the business practice. So unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, the case is that we have three different set of institutions where they are effectively working. I don't criticize, but the academia, they do a lot of research. They generate massive amount of findings. But the question is, we are not translating them into practice. So the policy is also closely connected to research. When it comes to policy, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, I would say we do a lot of things in absence of a policy, because as stakeholders, we should know what we can do and what we cannot do in when it comes to tourism development. Because whether we like or not, development is a change agent. So this change can be or could be positive or negative. So if it is positive, so we can of course optimize it. So if it is something negative, so we have to control. So as both naturalists explained rightly, what is happening in some part of the country. So when it comes to wildlife tourism, beach tourism, and even in heritage tourism, we see clear exceeding of threshold limits. So for example, the carrying capacities. So long time ago, when I was a student like you, studying, I came across a report conducted based on Yala National Park, the carrying capacity. So in that report, it says that at a time there can be only 50 vehicles. So maybe single axle or double axle. So you can imagine when you say 500 vehicles at a time. So we have gone beyond the threshold limit, which we cannot, I don't know how we can reverse the process, right? So we are keep on stressing the nature which the capacity has its own limitations, right? You have to understand that. So those are very sensitive aspect of the tourism product. Not only the environment, but also when it comes to the cultural elements, where we promote certain things, the cultural manifestations of the local community, right? So we promote the interactions to take place between the host and the guest communities. So like in the natural environment, right? So when we promote cultural manifestations in destinations, right? So we touch very sensitive aspects of the culture. So therefore, as Situmi, right? Situmi mentioned, the perception of the local community towards the tourism development, we have to carefully assess if the local community is getting disturbed because of the influx of tourism, because of the operations of tourism. So they have the right to say no, right? If you don't, if you're not getting the green light from the community, so no tourism development, no tourism operation can be take place. So therefore, we need to understand how we can comfortably accommodate tourism within the natural settings as well as in cultural settings. So if I come to the policy again, we find in literature, in most cases, it talks about three important aspects when we develop a policy. One is the visitor satisfaction. Number two is environmental protection and conservation. Number three is providing adequate rewards for the developers. So it's very simple to understand, but if you want to make a policy which is going to work for a destination, right? So as practitioners, you would agree with me. So it is something very complex because there are a large number of diverse stakeholders to take into account. Their interests are diverse, right? So therefore, we have to avoid the conflicting interest of those stakeholders at the end of the day. So if you don't resolve the conflicting interest, so there is no way that we can make our tourism sustainable, right? So therefore, research, policy, and the business practices should go hand in hand. So unfortunately, the industry has a lot of issues, but I don't see very little has been done in the academia. So academic research, more academic purpose oriented, I would say, right? So we don't let our students to produce recommendations. We say don't provide recommendations because there is nothing to implement them. So rather we ask them to provide implications, right? So, but no industry is going to take them very seriously, right? So that's the question we have, right? So uh, if I add something to the question you have raised in during the first round from Mr. Amita, he was talking about importance of collecting data and also using data for decision making, right? So in certain regions in the world, for example, we divide the whole global context into different regions when it comes to tourism to tourism discussion, right? So we have seen that there is a lot of effort being put into practice by different nations sharing same geopolitical region. Good example is Southeast Asian region. So the countries in the Southeast Asian region, they are collaboratively promoting research, right? So they want to know how much share that they are going to handle during the years to come. So European nations, OECD countries, so they are very active in doing research in their own geopolitical regions. So what is also missing is, as far as South Asian region is concerned, it's not our research should not be confined to the national boundaries. It should be go beyond the national boundaries, including the regional counterparts. So therefore, we can think of establishing collaborative research, because when you look at the WTO forecast, right? So we are now looking for world international tourist arrivals by the year of 2030. So we expect that the number will increase to 1.8 billion. In other words, 1,800 million. So before COVID in 2019, so according to the projection, it was like 1.4 billion, but we achieved 1.5 beyond the projection, right? So now when we talk about the resilience of the tourism, right? Since we look back, some of the incidences, right, took place, which the industry did not have any control over. Examples, SARS pandemic, and then Asian financial crisis, September 11 terrorist attack, and also COVID-19 pandemic quite recently. So we can observe clearly that tourism industry has ability to respond and bounce back to the external shocks. But we should not forget that if tourism destroys tourism, right? So as one of our panelists highlighted, right? So Butler mentioned one time in one of his papers, tourism carries the seeds of its own destruction, right? So we can't further expect that the tourism can exhibit its resilience if something happened to the environment, if something happened to the culture, something damaging. So the reversing the process would be quite challenging. So therefore, it is up to everybody, right, who are the stakeholders of the industry to take part in this exercise, understanding how we have to manage tourism in a sustainable manner for the benefit of all the stakeholders in the country. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Professor. And as you said, it's a joint collaboration of everyone that does the magic. And forums like this, especially Thema Talks, brings all of you together to one common platform where you can exchange, share your ideas, and project what are the do's and don'ts for the future when you're promoting tourism. So thank you very much for that insightful panel discussion. And that's a wrap. So we can actually entertain maximum two questions from the audience if you have. We do not have any questions that are posted yet online. So if there are any questions for you, we can quickly get them through the panelists over here, as we are way past the time as well. Any questions from the audience?
Good evening, everyone. In the discussion mentioned, Sri Lanka attract mass tourists and special interest tourists. So I would like to ask, what types of tourism have great potential to reduce the seasonality in Sri Lanka?
Okay, that's a good question, actually. I think I would start with showing something we didn't touch much before I come to answer your question. Probably we missed that during our discussion. We are talking about de-seasonalization. Now, the challenges are more difficult than we think because we have to protect the seasonality. So now the all over the world seasons become shortening, right? Due to what? Can you guess? There's one strong factor governing this phenomena. So season is attributing or corresponding to the relative increase of tourist arrival within a given period of time in a year, usually in a year, right? Compared to the rest of the period, right? So now seasons becoming shortened. Why is that? Mainly because of climate change, right? So if you take winter tourism, for example, in the Europe, right? So the winter tourism seasons now shorten, right? So there has been massive investment for the infrastructure development, superstructure development in winter tourism. When it comes to coastal or beach tourism in tropical countries, right? So we don't have sometimes clear prime time, right, to undertake any type of activities, right? So we need to have a very clear, lengthy prime time. It's not something like you say our season starts from mid-November and ends in mid-March or April, right? But if you count days, if you count hours in a day, right? So you would be able to identify a specific prime time for promoting activity because it's going to directly impact on the visitor satisfaction at the end of the day. So that's the challenge we need to think of, right? So if I come to your question, so there are certain market segments that we would promote as far as Sri Lanka's diversity is concerned, right? Some of the areas still we talk about much since I am very familiar with the promotion of health tourism in Sri Lanka. So that is one of the segments which we have not touched much. We talk too much, but we see very little, right? So the health tourism, we broadly divide into two segments, wellness and medical, right? So we have Ayurveda, we have other healing traditions. And one time I remember somewhere during COVID pandemic, or maybe slightly before the COVID pandemic, by the international travel media, Sri Lanka has been identified as a spiritual destination. And quite recently by Condé Nast Travel magazine, it has been identified as a wellness destination, particularly for the grief-related tourism. So what does this mean? Grief-related. So there are millions of people or individuals in our society who really looking for outside support to improve their wellness, right? So they have a lot of sufferings. So they live because of anxiety, right? Especially after the COVID. So many of people, they lost their loved ones, right? So therefore they suggest Sri Lanka and Morocco are the one best destinations to go to grief related wellness. So you might think that because we are having different spiritual practices, healing traditions, and so on, but they are highlighting that beach related surfing vacations for that kind of segment, right? So there are a lot of beach destinations promoting surfing all over the world, but they pick only two countries, Sri Lanka and Morocco. So these are the travel trends which we even not pay much attention, right? Because when you send a person to a vacation like that, right? So they eventually change the environment. You know that if the person is under psychological stress, right? So they move away from the relationships, right? So they want to be in isolation. So that's not going to be the solution for the problem of the person. But if you change without medication, without any consultation, but just you put the person in a different environment where you give a different kind of experience, right? So if you have some idea of a surfing destination, right, you can see people come from different part of the world, right? So they come alone, but they started developing relationships, right? So when they started developing relationships, so their hormone reaction is going to change, right? So the hormone that we focus on relationship building is called oxytocin, right? So if you develop more and more oxytocin hormone, so people will switch from sad mode to happy mode, right? So it's a mood fixing hormone, right? Something like that, right? So those are some of small segments of the tourist market that we can touch. So there's no short answer for the question, but I would like to uh, limit that by just giving an idea about how you can explore, develop, right, special interest tourism products. For that, as Mr. Daham rightly explained, we need creative thinking, right? So we need to come up with our own solutions development before we produce it to the tourist market, right? So the tourism has been highly fragmented. Tourism markets becoming highly fragmented. So therefore, we might focus on those dynamics and think of what we have, what we can offer best for the product development. Thank you. If somebody would add something to that.
From the DMC perspective, I want to give a short answer. We need both interest areas, mass market and specialized market for sure. But we are talking about de-seasonalising. So therefore, I think specialty segment would be ideal to get into it, since we have so many array of themes and areas that we can propose. But once we are getting to the segment, if you want to develop it to more of a business perspective, mass market will definitely help. So that's what I want to tell you.
Yes, we can actually move to another question, the last question from the audience.
Yes, hello. I just want to say I'm really honored to be in your presence. So my question is, we do everything for money, right? So money makes us more inhuman, right? So in the same way, what are naturalists? They told that people tend to market places that, especially the tour guides, yes, they tend to market the places where they can earn the profits, right? And in the same way, our Madam Naturalist, she said that kids from very far away villages and all, they want to live with the nature, but they don't have the proper idea or the exposure for it. So from you all, the entire panel, please give me any ideas or anything that you think that could change what I just asked. 1, the money. 2, the how they popularize places. And 3, how to make them be okay, there is a new place or a new opportunity called being a naturalist. Okay, so this is the pathway to go. Or if not, Galloya, yes, is a very far away place with a little bit of education and on and on. So what opportunities could you give the community?
Yeah, I'll give one example. Since like we are doing tracking in National Park, so we thought of like giving opportunity for locals. Like anyway, like in our hotel, we have a program called Happy Program, which means like anybody willing to join the tourism sector, we are giving opportunity. Like we are giving internship programs, right? Especially the school leavers, so they can like complete their internship if they really want to stay in the same sector. We are giving opportunity. So in terms of the naturalist, actually, so we recent like 6 months ago, we picked one school leaver from nearby village, and these days like we are giving the same train that we are giving we are getting from the international guides. So now he earned there's an organization called Cyber Tracker in South Africa. So and also like they are giving kind of a certification, like certifying this is a professional guide for any part of the world. So like we give chance for that like that child to earn that certification. So luckily he got the certification. Like there are like couple of tiers. So he got the third highest tier. So it is kind of a remarkable thing for his life, because actually he doesn't want to be a naturalist since he's in the school, but eventually he become a naturalist, and he's a good example for the rest of his friends, families, and who are living nearby villages. If you learn, you can be a if you learn in the right way, you can be this kind of a person. So I think like we strongly believe that we can do conservation through education. So yeah, that's what I want to tell you, because we are giving actually as a responsible resort, we are giving opportunities for those kind of people. And on the other hand, like seeing that I was telling you that we are not providing opportunity for block fund safaris. We are providing different options, couple of options. We have like a whole list of excursions. Like we are providing, like we are promoting scuba diving in National Park. So that is something new. So these is we are looking for like experience, or at least like people who are having the diving license, to send the tourists with them to explore those areas, because we have untouched coral reef, and we have like ships there. So it's a very interesting place. So the people who are not to dive in like most crowded areas, they have opportunity here. But the thing is, we are trying to encourage local to promote such initiatives, because Yal is only for well known for safari, but not for the diving. So like we are trying to promote those kind of initiative. I think like if you like take the whole country, there will be more initiative that we can accelerate. So as Situmi said, like we have like lots of other places that we can visit. So I think yeah, those are things like as a resort we are doing. I think the Thema also doing the same thing, because I was previously worked for Thema. I know that they're doing the same thing for the local community. Yeah. Anything to add?
Yes, I would just like to touch base on the first part of your question. You mentioned that money makes us inhumane. So that made me go a few years back when I started tourism as a travel consultant. A really good piece of advice that I got that I would like to share with you all. One of my mentors, a very senior person in the industry, he has been a guide for so long, said, Mizra, in this industry, if you chase money, you're going in the wrong direction. But if you're really passionate and you put your heart and soul into it, the money will follow, which I don't see in most of these DMCs, but I see quite a few stakeholders trying to change that narrative, which is a good sign. We talk about slow travel, we talk about ecotourism, green travel, we try to promote more and more of eco-lodges, places that we have not explored before. So I see an effort to change that narrative. True that we still experience mass tourism, overpopulation in certain areas, and also to give back to the community. You mentioned we try to source and provide opportunities to all communities around these areas that we develop in terms of offering them a livelihood. For example, in Galoya region, we work with the Vedda community there, who will showcase their customs, their traditions, and their way of living to the tourists in exchange for a little bit of, a compensation for their efforts. So that is one way we create and we support them actually. And then there's vendors, the artisans who will, for example, those who weave coir for a living, and those who make handicrafts with wood, coconut shells. This type of thing, we try to give an experience to the client, at the same time help the community also sustain. So we need to think in a more humane manner, where our efforts to develop tourism, to bring in tourists, will not impact the communities around us. So that is how we think of being humane, while also, of course, earning money. Thank you.
And I'll add one thing more. And when we, sorry for taking much more time, so I'll just add something more. And when we talk about the same thing as Mr. Chatura said, it's awareness. The answer is we have the totally the whole thing. The ones who can change the whole thing, they are in schools now. So really the school students and the university students, they are the ones where we can change their minds. I'm not saying everyone to be naturalist or working in the nature, like even though they are in any job roles, still if they are having some kind of idea about this one, they can do something. And still, I'll tell one example. So, I love snakes and amphibians. I love them. And imagine I'm bringing a amphibian, like imagine I'm being a frog here and I'm telling you all, this is the most rarest frog. I'm pretty sure these girls and also boys, they will say, yeah, Gimbic. They will say that. For sure, if it's a frog or tot, they will say, ew. They will say that. And sometimes even when I see ones, I will go and touch them and I'll just see them. So that's how I am naturally. So I just see if there are any changes, if there's a new species. So we do that. But usually if it's a snake or something, still if these kind of unloved animals, and when we touch them or something, people just look at them like, ew. That really happens. And the thing, even for snakes, the same thing. And the thing, it's fair. Look, like from our small age, even you see in cartoons, when we look a cartoon, it's fit to our mind that snakes, they are the bad ones. And even frogs and toads, when we look at any kind of a thing, a movie or a cartoon, that's in our mindset. Everything is here. So if we can change this part, I believe that we can do a lot of change in this industry. So we also do awareness programs in universities and also in schools. And I think that is the best place, and even the local wildlife, like the local communities. And they do a huge part. And I'll add one example. You know what, turtles, right? So we did a research on turtles, and what we observed was these hotels, usually, turtles eggs are getting sold to these hotels, and they cook different kind of food items with turtle eggs, and which is very sad to see. And some turtle species are there, they don't even come to Sri Lanka. Like we get like very rarely we spot them, some turtle species, and still the ones who are coming also, we get records of them getting killed and their eggs be taken to these hotels. So what then the end result of this research was, what they did was, and like imagine for an example, if these hotels, they are buying these eggs for maybe like 20 rupees, and they asked for the local people only will take them for the hotels. So they see eggs, they need money, right? As you said, money. So what they think will like, okay, and they will anyhow try to earn something from anything. That's literally happening here. So they will take these eggs and they will sell and they will take the money. So what they did was they said that the conservation side, they said that if they are selling for 30 rupees maybe, and they say that we will buy these for 40 or 50, more than that. So bring the eggs to us. So again, it's the money. So here then the locals, they are bringing these fun for their hatcheries, and or else we can do that like in-situ and ex-situ conservation. So we can either keep them in hatcheries, or else we can they asked for the locals itself to stay near the hatcheries and look after these eggs. And they did that. And that's how we can educate the locals, and when they get a proper idea about this one, and they will protect that. So it's really in the local community, and no matter how many discussions we take with some of the students, or like we speak in these panels. Now here there are more students, and I wish like everyone, like imagine there are 60, 70 ones here, and I really believe that that will go like one person can spread this one to more 10 people maybe. So it's like then the 67 can become hundreds, 600s. So that's the thing, like even you are sitting here, just don't go home and just ask from this side and put it out from the other side. So take something. I hope like everyone spoke, that you all took some, you all learned something. So it's the same thing, like especially the students and the local community. If even you all can, whatever you all learned, you all can spread awareness. So I think that can cure many problems. Thank you.
So that's definitely an insightful discussion, right? So we initially planned the discussion for 1 hour, but right now we are way past 2.5 hours as well. And that's definitely insightful. So the discussion that we had for all these hours is actually to open up everyone's eyes to see that the goal is not to attract the tourist for the other parts of the country, but also to create a very sustainable and a resilient tourism model so that everyone can fit into it, and thereby Sri Lanka will be progressing as #1 destination, hopefully, in the world. So thank you very much for all the experts for joining here and sharing your insights. And definitely, I'm sure that the students out there got their understanding as to how they are going to project their future and what are the things that they are going to learn in future when they are actively being part of the industry. So I would say for all the students over here, even the sky might not be even the limit for you with all these limitless opportunities that were shared by everyone here in the panel. So to conclude this officially, now I would like to invite to deliver the word of thanks Jitushi Tharungi, the Secretary of the Center for Excellence in Travel, Tourism and Hospitality of Sri Lanka Technology Campus, to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. As we draw this inspiring session to a close, it is both an honor and a privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of Tourism Management in Sri Lanka Technology Campus. First and foremost, I extend our deepest gratitude to Thema Collection for partnering with us in creating this remarkable knowledge sharing platform. A heartfelt thank you to Ms. Manushi, Mr. Dinuwan, and the entire Thema Collection team for your unwavering support, guidance, and commitment throughout the planning and execution of Thema Talks 2026. Your collaboration has been truly invaluable in advancing the vision of sustainable tourism. To our distinguished panel of speakers, we are sincerely grateful the wealth of knowledge, expertise, perspectives you shared on the theme De-Seasonalising Sri Lanka, Spreading Demand Without Spreading Damage. Your insights have not only enriched our understanding, but also inspired us to think critically about shaping a resilient future for tourism in Sri Lanka. We are equally thankful to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Chandrika and Vijayaratna, for gracing this occasion with your presence, for your continued encouragement of student-led academic initiatives. Your support is a source of motivation for all of us. And also, I would like to thank Professor Hilary Silva, Dean of Faculty of Business Management, for your continuous support and encouragement. And also, a special thanks goes to Mr. Nuwan Sanjeeva, Head of University Operation, for his valuable assistance
in facilitating the arrangement for today's event. Your cooperation played a pivotal role in ensuring its success. And also, our sincere thanks goes to Ms. Umayangana Alavatta, our moderator, for skillfully guiding the discussion and fostering an engaging and thought-provoking dialogue. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of deans of the faculties, head of departments, our lecturers, distinguished guests, industry professionals, invitees from other universities, and my dear colleagues. Your presence and active participation added immense value and meaning to this gathering. A warm thank you goes to Performing Arts Club for their captivating drama performance, which brought a creative and memorable touch to the evening. And finally, organizing committee, the media team, and every individual who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. Your dedication and hard work are truly commendable. On behalf of the department, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to each one of you. May the conversations we share today continue to inspire collective action towards a sustainable and a resilient tourism industry in Sri Lanka. Thank you once again. Wishing you all a pleasant evening and safe travels home.
Thank you very much, Tushi. And on behalf of Thema Collection and Sri Lanka Technology Campus, once again, I would like to thank all these panelists over here to sharing all these insightful comments today. And also to learn more about all these updates about Thema Talks in future, please stay tuned with their official website and their social media platforms. You can access their website through www.themacollection.com, and please follow their Thema Collection website and their other social media platforms. So thank you very much for being a lovely audience tonight, and have a great evening ahead.